Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. My name is Diana Skaya. Warsaw, the capital of Poland, has announced a ban on nighttime sales of alcohol in shops and petrol stations across the entire city. Now, the new measure will come into effect on the 1st of June 2026 and will apply between 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. Now, under the rules, shops and petrol stations will be prohibited from selling alcohol during those hours. However, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, and hotels can continue to do so. And there's also an exception for the duty-free area of Warsaw's main airport. Jan Śpiewak, activist, writer, and president of the Safe Poland Foundation, joins me now to break down all the details. Good morning, Jan. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
All right, Jan. So, Warsaw is saying, I have so many questions here. So Warsaw is saying no more alcohol buying late at night as of June 1, unless you're dining out in a restaurant, in a club, in a hotel. Clearly, Warsaw saw a problem. If the city chooses to implement this measure, the first thing I'm going to ask you, what problem is this policy actually aiming to solve? Are we talking about public safety, public order, public health? And you know what? I'm just going to shoot my second question at you straight away because I do believe that it'll probably, link it into one. Why exactly 10 p.m.? Why, for instance, is drinking a beer on the riverbank at 10:30 a problem, but sipping on a small bottle of vodka at 7 a.m. before work, for instance, not a problem?
It's a very good question, but it's that's the law. We cannot change the law. This is the law that Parliament implemented more than a decade ago, and it says that local governments can implement such regulation only between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. I completely agree with you that we have a lot of heavy drinkers who will drink alcohol just before going to work. And when you go to the small shops in Warsaw or any other places in Poland, you would see people buying vodka at 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., and drinking this vodka and then going to work, being under influence of alcohol. So that's a huge problem. But unfortunately, the law that the Parliament passed allows us only to implement this kind of regulation in this period of time. So this is the maximum that we can get. But we are also trying to change the law in the Parliament as well. We can talk about it later. So it aims, as you said, to tackle few issues. It's not it won't be a miracle overnight, but it's one of measures that will help public sector workers, health workers who have to deal with this kind of people, drunk and doing some harm to themselves because they are, they cannot control themselves, and then going to the hospitals late night and making queues to the hospital even longer. Some of the doctors, some of the people who work for the health industry say that almost 1/3 of people who get to the hospitals during the weekends are people who harm themselves after drinking alcohol, which is a huge number. And so we hope that this number will decrease after implementing of this ban. What else? Of course, police, local municipality police also ask for this kind of regulation because it helps them, because they don't have enough troops, they don't have enough officers to tackle all of this, late
Jan,
night.
I have to interrupt you. I have to interrupt you right there for a moment. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe some time ago I did read an article about a police officer's car being escorted away because he was drunk. What can you tell me about that? How does that work? Here you have, I know we laugh about it. I know we naturally laugh about it, but at the same time, because you just mentioned, right, and the police force is also asking that this law be implemented, of course, to make their job easier. But then you have a cop here, showing the wrong example. How do you respond to that?
I don't know much about this case, but alcoholism is a very democratic problem. It's not only poor people or people who work in construction sites who have this kind of problem. People who doctors, police officers, they deal with a lot of trauma. They deal with a lot of problems every day, and one of the ways they would try to ease their work, is just to drink. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality here. So we have big problem, of course, with this problem amongst also officers and doctors. Almost any job which comes with a lot of responsibility, with a lot of stress, people will they will tend to try to dissolve their stress in this kind of way. So we are the new generation, basically, if I can say so. I'm not that young anymore, but I'm representing the millennials generation, but the next generation as well. They don't want to live as their parents, and they want to deal with their problems in more mature way. Yeah. So they want to talk about their emotions, go to the psychiatrist or whatever. And the older generations, they don't have this kind of tools. They were raised in a very different environment. So all the older generation, the alcohol for them is like this kind of panaceum, like this kind of pill that will ease their stress and ease their problems of their everyday life. So that's also I think it's a generational shift that is going on right now in Poland, but not only in Poland, in whole Western world, where we can see that alcohol sales are plummeting, and they are plummeting because of the young people who just don't want to get drink as much. They don't want to drink as much as their parents did.
Okay, but let me ask you, from everything that you're telling me, Jan, do you really think that this is really a public health policy like you've outlined here, or a rule that mainly is going to affect, poor consumers while wealthier people can still drink in bars, restaurants, or simply stock up on alcohol? And actually, opponents of the ban and critics are actually saying that, it's going to restrict freedoms and it's going to harm local businesses, local shops that stay open, and potentially lead to illegal sales of alcohol. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, but we heard about illegal sales of alcohol. It's a mantra that is being said all over the time. But we have this kind of bans implemented in most of the big cities in Poland: Kraków, Wrocław, Szczecin. These are all big cities that implemented this kind of law a long time ago, and they don't report any illegal sales. We live in a post-communist country, so there are a lot of people older than me, obviously, that remembered, Meta, people like this. You go to the Meta where you can buy illegal alcohol, but this is not the case anymore. It's the world has completely changed. Who is buying alcohol after 10 p.m.? You have to ask yourself, who is buying alcohol after 10 p.m.?
You tell me. You tell me, who is buying alcohol after 10 p.m.?
People who are drunk. Yeah, people who are drunk. Or people who have big issue with drinking alcohol, who are just addicted to alcohol.
Okay, so 1 second. So are you telling me, look, I'm not, Jan, let me be the devil's advocate. Let me be the devil's advocate and interrupt you. So you're telling me that, here, I'll give you an example. I'm not stating it as a fact, but I'm going to give you an example. So somebody finishes work, in a newsroom, we operate here, 24 hours, right? So I'll give you, you're laughing, but I am going to tell you this. So for example, we finish our shift 10, 11 p.m. We've had very long hours. We want to go home. Hey, on the way, we want to buy a bottle of wine. Are you telling me so it's actually, that we actually have a problem with alcohol, or we just want to have hey, a glass of wine when we get home with with our partners and maybe with some friends because we didn't have time to get like a bottle of. I'm talking about a simple bottle of wine earlier on to just unwind and.
If you are. Yeah,
so does that mean that would make us, prone to be an alcoholic?
Not, I'm a psychiatrist, but I'm not a specialist in this field. But if you are buying alcohol every time you go back from work, that might be a problem. Yeah, that might be a problem. But if come on. We are adults, If you know that you want to drink alcohol and you are finishing work late, just buy it earlier, This ban.
So then that wouldn't make the people addicted to alcoholics if they buy it, for instance, at 9:45 compared to 10 p.m.
Yeah, they're just we are aiming this regulation towards people who are deciding to buy alcohol, being under influence or being addicted, and this is the main issue here. Yeah, people who are causing a lot of problems. You know, we say that when Paul drinks one beer, there's another Paul being wake up that wants to buy another half liter of beer. Yeah, so this is you are buying this alcohol on. No, it's not like a very rational decision that you are doing it. Yeah, so we want to aim this regulation towards this kind of people who are doing this, and in normal situation they would go to the bed and they would go to sleep and they would not harm anybody. They would not harm you and themselves. So because most of this alcohol being sold after 10 p.m. is this kind of people, There are, of course, people, like you said in your example, but this kind of people they are adults, they are responsible, and they can make this kind of purchase 2 days before, 1 day before, or in the morning, yeah? And they will do it in a rational and responsible way, yeah? So I think that's, this is, we are living in a society and we have few freedoms, yeah? We have on one side, we have freedom of buying, of freedom of consumption, whatever, yeah? Free market, etc. But on the other hand, we have other freedoms, like freedom to have a, nice sleep, like that is not interrupted by people who are, shouting during the night. We have freedom to, when you go to this hospital, you won't wait in a queue, for 5 hours because, the people before you are people who, did some harm to themselves because they drank alcohol. You have freedom to go outside in the evening, in the morning or in the evening and feel safe to go back to home. Yeah, because people are, there are many people, especially women, who are afraid going back late to home because they would have to come across people who would drink alcohol before next to the liquor
Jan,
store.
Just because we have not so much time left, I want to ask you this though. Shifting, on a more serious concern, do you think that these restrictions are simply aiming to might aim and maybe force people to push them into more private spaces where problems like domestic violence or alcohol abuse would actually become less visible? And really, most importantly, where is the balance then?
Well, no, we saw statistics from, I think, Konin, where the domestic abuse fell like reports of domestic abuse after implementing of this ban fell like 20%. Yeah. Because people would go to the, to the night shop, to the liquor store. They would go there. They would buy alcohol. They came back to the home and start a quarrel with their wife. And then, most of the domestic violence in Poland is done under influence of alcohol. Alcohol is one of the main reasons of committing crimes in Poland. We estimate that around 1/3 of all crimes being committed in Poland are committed after drinking alcohol. It's huge. It's a huge issue and it's a huge taboo. And we had to fight with alcohol lobby. We had to fight with all these neoliberal free market fundamentalists that say, alcohol is a product as any other else, and we have to, and we want to sell it, wherever, whenever, and whoever. So this is the main issue. And the ban on selling alcohol after 10 p.m. is only one of the measures that we need to implement in Poland if we want to have healthy and safe society. Next measures is banning sales of alcohol. I want to ban sales of alcohol during the night in whole Poland. I want to make it more expensive. I want to ban all advertisements. We need a broad, really broad steps to implement to have more safe and more healthy country. And we need to remember that alcohol is really destroying our families, is really ripping apart budgets of hospitals in Poland. It's a huge domestic issue that we need to tackle, and we, the younger generations, are proud to be in the front line of fighting with this huge issue, which is alcoholism in Poland.
Thank you so much, Jan Śpiewak, activist, writer, and president of the Save Poland Foundation, for all your input here on the alcohol ban coming up in the city of Warsaw,
Thank you
in Poland on the 1st of June. Thanks a lot. And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. I'll see you next time.